Hello and welcome to my, I guess, gun channel. I have something really cool today that I want to talk about and demystify. The COP 357 Derringer with 4 shots. Let me show you its features. But let's first unbox it, because even though the gun is at least 35 years old, maybe even 45, I don't really know when it was made, it comes with the original box. So let's open the original box. And you can see that there even is the original owner's manual in pretty good condition, and it says Compact Off-Duty Police. So COP stands for Compact Off-Duty Police. Interesting to know. And it also comes with the original warranty card, but it's not completed, not mailed, so I guess my gun has no more warranty. And this is the gun. As you see, it's in really good condition. And I paid a hefty price for it because these are now really sought after. So this is actually a 4-barrel pistol. It's not a revolver because the barrels do not rotate. Like in a revolver, to revolve, it should rotate, and this one doesn't. So these are fixed barrels. So it's a little bit more like the pepper box design, or to be really accurate, it's designed after the Sharp's Derringer that was made in the 1860s, I believe. So this actually is not a revolver, it's just a pistol. Okay, and it actually opens like so, just like a break barrel shotgun would open. And as you can see, this is one of the things that I really love on this gun. There is no wasted space. There's just no way that you can put 4 rounds of 38 Special or 357 Magnum closer to each other than this. And it snaps shut, that I also like. I really like the design. I mean, it's a little bit 70-ish. And I think it was made between 1979 and 1989. And then I think the American Derringer company also made it for a very brief time. But this is an original COP. The serial number is actually, let me see, 009343. And it says that it was made by the COP Inc. in Torrance, California. So this is an original one and not an American Derringer one. As you see, it's in really good condition. The barrels are rifled, and the rifling, I measured it, is about 46 millimeters in length. So if you put a 357 Magnum round in here, you can see this is about the length of the rifling in the gun. It is a double action only trigger, so it doesn't have a safety or something. The trigger pull is heavy enough. Now I really don't want to test the gun in every aspect, because that's been done several times already, and there are great videos about it, and there's great texts that you can read about it. I want to look at this particular gun and demystify some of the things that people have said about it, because people tend to not say very positive things about it. And commercially, it clearly was a failure, that's for sure. Okay, I'm changing it back to spent rounds, because what we need to test is the trigger pull. Because yes, that's one of the main criticisms that the gun received, that the trigger pull is awkward. And I can confirm that it is very hard. But nobody, I think, ever publicly tested how hard. And that's exactly what we will do today. And therefore we're putting in the blanks to not put too much stress on the firing pins. Okay, let's go for it. All right, let's do this one more time. So it broke at roughly 13 kilograms, quite high. So yes, the trigger pull is very hard, and if you really try to shoot like this, then it is not easy to hold the gun steady while you do this. So when you just do this on the stretch out arm, you almost, if you want to really try shooting it hard, you can see that the gun is moving. But what you can do is, you can just pull the thing almost all the way, and then you only have to fulfill the last millimeter. So this is actually not hard to do. It's like a pre-cocking. So this is normally how I would shoot the gun. When you do this, you just keep it almost all the way through, and then you just complete it, and then it's not hard. And then you can keep the gun very steady. Now, in terms of accuracy, well, yes, there are issues with accuracy for such tiny guns. I mean, these are not these are not Olympic like style guns where you expect tiny groups at like 50 meters or something. This is a self-defense gun for off-duty corps. That's what it's meant for. I guess also for home defense. It's just very compact and it's a typical backup gun. And typically those are not shot on long distances. So I think that it typically should hit the body, the main center mass of an attacker from about up to 7 meters. And we will test this. Now, of course, this has two challenges. First of all, the very short barrel length, which is just 46 millimeters of a barrel. It's not even 2 inches of a rifle barrel. And then also we have 4 barrels that we each individually shoot a little different. And they're even also mounted differently. So like if you take a snub-nosed revolver, it has the advantage that it's out shooting through the same rifle. So that rifle will actually decide where the bullet is going to fly to. Now this one here actually has 4 individual barrels and it's machined really well, you can tell. But of course you can never get the same accuracy if you fire through 4 individual barrels. But today we want to find out how accurate it really is, because it is possible that all the testers that reviewed it before simply haven't been good enough when it comes to shooting capabilities. And I'm not judging them, I'm not saying that they're bad shooters. We just want to find out what this particular gun can do if we eliminate the shooter's capabilities. So I have now clamped in the gun very securely. As you see, I used these 3, and then I also bolted a steel thing around here. So this should really hold it back. The table is also bolted down, and of course it will work a little bit, so it might jump a tiny little bit, but it will come right back to where it started from. So I think this is holding it more firmly than you could ever hold the gun in your hand. So you can see here how it's clamped in. And you see I clamped it in, I removed the scales and installed it here so that nothing is damaged. And I can still open the gun just like normal, like so. And I just test fired the upper right barrel to see if the gun is aligned right. And this is where my test hit landed. So let's see how the others perform. And we will be using 38 Special, not 357 Magnum, because the recoil is lower and we want to test the accuracy of the gun and not the power. Now the higher the recoil, the more likely it is that the whole thing will shift inside of the frame that is mounted to the table, and we want to avoid that. The distance to the target is about 7 meters, which I think is very typical for a self-defense situation. And my aim is, I would say that this is successful if the group is not larger than this. So like this here, right? So this is, if you can hit that reliably with every shot, then I would say the gun is accurate enough for a self-defense application. But of course you can think otherwise, you're absolutely free. It's just my personal opinion. So the gun will fire with the lower right barrel first, and then the lower left, and then the upper left, and then the upper right. Let's see what it does. So, super interesting. Lower right, lower left, upper right. So actually you can still see which one of the barrels is where, and definitely that spread is absolutely acceptable. We will now repeat the test one more time to see how accurate the individual barrels are and if we can reproduce this spread. Okay, round 2. So again, we clearly saw the same pattern. So these 2 and these 2 and these 2 and these 2 belong to one barrel. Very, very interesting. But I think the accuracy goal has been achieved. So it is confirmed the gun is accurate enough for home defense and for as a backup gun. Shooting against the cardboard target also was very practical because it showed us that actually from the 8 shots, a total of 1, 2, 3 keyholed. And actually this was the test shot that also keyholed when I did the very first shot. So this happens, like it seems like it happens with every barrel, but not consistently. So this barrel keyholed once, and this one did it once, and this one and this one. It didn't really have an impact on the accuracy, really. But of course, it is definitely not good if a gun keyholes. But that could actually be just due to the ammo that I was using. There are several reports on the internet that say that it doesn't like some ammo types and some ammo types it does not like so much. So maybe we could just invest some time and find ammo that never keyholes on this. But clearly we had actually 3 keyholes from 8 shots or 4 keyholes from 9 shots. So here you can see my shooting block, and you can see that this is the one that was connecting it to the table. So it's very solid. And then the clamps, of course. And as you can see here, this is clamped in by this piece of wood. I don't really want any damage to the gun. And the gun, of course, is absolutely fine on here. You can still open it. So, of course, these are spent rounds now. And this still is a very functional gun. But I didn't destroy it in any way because it's all softwood and steel. So here you can see the gun is really very firmly in place. And it's just hold on by pressure and friction, of course. Let us now compare the COP 357 with some other backup guns from the era, but also talking a little bit about modern day. So first of all, this reviewer, who otherwise wrote a really great review about the COP, he compares it with the Ruger LCP. And I disagree, because that's a 380 auto gun, and you cannot compare the dimensions of a 357 gun with the dimensions and the weight and so on of a 380 ACP gun. That's a completely different category to me. So therefore I disagree with that conclusion. You have to compare it with guns in the same league, and that's definitely not the 380 auto. So first we have the D-Tonics. It's like same era, but that's a 45 caliber gun, very serious. So this is like a smaller 1911 design. So it's been trimmed down from the original 1911 design. And if you look at the sizes, definitely the COP is definitely shorter. Of course, that comes at a price. The barrels are definitely also shorter. And also it is not quite as high. So the D-Tonics is definitely a little bit larger. It is about the same width, even though the sled, of course, is a little different. We will later on weigh the guns. So, but I would say that they are pretty equal in weight. Maybe this is a little heavier, but I could be wrong. Now, of course, this one has a lot more rounds in the magazine. So this one has 6 rounds in the magazine and 1 in the chamber. And this one, of course, only has 4 rounds. Then let's compare it with the Semmerling in 45 ACP. This one has 4 rounds in the magazine and 1 in the barrel. So it does have a slightly larger capacity. Now, if you look at the sizes, they are pretty identical. So in every aspect, except in the width, where the Semmerling is a lot slimmer. So definitely this is the smaller gun, even though the footprint is pretty much identical. Now, if you compare the active barrel length, the Semmerling actually has a little bit of a longer barrel. So this is like full 2 inches, but this is only like 46 millimeters. So definitely this has an advantage here. But of course you still have to manually repeat if you want to shoot, where this one you just have to pull the trigger. Or then the trigger pull is heavier on this one here. So, and this of course is a 45 caliber, just like the D-Tonics. If you ask me which one I would rather carry, I would go for the Semmerling, because it's just so small. So this actually is a very funny thing, because this is not a holster really. This is actually a bag for keys, just as a gag for, you know, people that like guns. It has the VDB logo on it. But actually the Semmerling is so small that it actually fits. So you can carry the Semmerling in a holster as small as this, where you have no chance to do the same with the COP. So clearly. Now, if you talk about modern guns, then you would look at the Glock 26. And the Glock 26 is almost identical in the dimensions to the D-Tonics. So what I said for this one, that is definitely larger than the COP, is also true for the Glock 26. Okay, for comparison, let's weigh the guns. So all the guns are loaded. So this one has 4 shots of 357 Magnum in it. Let's weigh it. And it weighs 845 grams. Okay, now we do the same with the Detonics. That has 7 rounds of 45 ACP. Seems like it's exactly 1 kilo, so 1000 grams. And here is the Semmerling with a total of 5 shots in 45 ACP in it. Okay, so this is 845 grams, almost exactly as heavy as the COP, but of course it has 1 extra shot. And the Glock 26 would come in at about roughly 740 grams, so it would be the lightest in the field. Not a surprise if you consider that it actually has a polymer frame. I don't have a lightweight like an airweight Smith & Wesson with a small frame here, but that one would definitely be much less, under 500 grams, even fully loaded I think. It would only go 38 special, it would not go 357 Magnum, but it would definitely be same size and a lot lighter than the COP, and that's why I think a lot of people just opted for that one. The modern version of it also now comes in a 357 Magnum. They just use titanium drums and everything, so very, very high end, but also very expensive. Those are also just under 500 grams in weight, I think, and they would be a great alternative for everyday carry, and I would definitely prefer one of those if I would be an off-duty cop. Okay, so what's our conclusion from this little test here? Well, first of all, I still love the gun. I think it's super cool. I love it. And my heart jumps of joy when I look into this here. I just love the sight. It's just pretty. And I'm very proud to have it in my collection, even though it was really, really expensive. In any case, is it practical as a backup? Well, not so much. I mean, it's about the same size and the same weight as a steel frame 357 revolver, and therefore it really doesn't make sense, you know. So they typically shoot 5 rounds and not just 4, and also it's shooting it through the same barrel, so it will probably be more accurate. Also, we have modern day automatic handguns that also pack a punch that are probably a lot lighter because of polymer frames than this one. So I believe that it is absolutely understandable that this was no commercial success. This is now very much a super interesting piece for collectors, and I also think that it was misjudged a little bit because it is absolutely legit for a self-defense gun when it comes to accuracy. That's my 2 cents. Anyway, I hope you like this because that's it for today. Thanks and